Hello and welcome to Tips, Tricks, and Oops. This is Terese, and on my right I have
Estin
and on my left
I know where your left is, Sanford, Alexander.
I'm glad you know, because I'm not sure I know today.
And it is
Well, what
January.
It is January 16th, 2013. He almost took my line.
Well, I wasn't sure you were going to say it, because usually we say it right before we intro.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
I was too busy trying to remember who was on my right and who was on my left.
Oh, okay.
And we do that, folks, so that we can make sure you have a time frame in terms of how dated the material that we're going to talk about is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And a couple of people have thrown in and questioned, why don't we number the episodes like some podcasts do? And there's a very simple reason why.
Why, Sanford?
Well,
Tell us.
Estin?
Well,
Why, Estin?
what we end up doing is we record a few different episodes on a few different topics, and then we end up having it to where the one that is edited goes up for the next one. We can say we want this one to go up next, like we will for a few episodes coming up pretty soon. But that is one of the reasons why. Sanford, do you have another reason why?
Well, that's pretty much it. And we
pretty
don't
much
know
it.
exactly what topic we're talking about, which numbered episode it's going to be. But it is shown on YouTube when it's posted, isn't it?
Correct.
It is shown, but I have another very important reason that I think that would be useful to our viewers, listeners. But if we're talking about a device that's coming out and we want to share the hottest, latest, greatest thing, and you're listening to a podcast to somebody that somebody's produced, and they say, this is episode 17, and then you find out that episode 17 was recorded 4 years ago, and the version of this hot, great new thing that they're talking about is actually 4 years old when you find the podcast.
And not available anymore.
And not available anymore.
Right.
Or there's a newer, hotter version that's out now. So we kind of try and, we don't number the episodes, but we give you the date so you can say, okay, this is what we're talking about, but it is up to date, or no, that's old.
And one of the other things that we've been wanting to do with our podcast is have it open to questions and responses. And some of our tips might come, and actually we will be talking about some that do come from people that have asked the questions. But Estin, you had something about that you wanted to make sure you talked about.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about using the comments section of the actual YouTube channel, because if you use the comments section on the YouTube video itself, it would allow for more people to be able to agree or disagree about whether or not they think that that's a good tip, or whether or not they think that that's a good question. They may have the answer to that question already, and they may be able to help you as well. So we just want to make this more of an interactive experience with the podcast itself. And we are set up so that the YouTube channel can accept comments.
And the other thing that we had as a goal was to be able, from time to time, as was indicated, be able to do follow-up on something we've talked about before. And today we actually have an opportunity to do that, I think for the first time, really. In episode 13, which I don't remember the recording date, but it doesn't matter, because when you look it up, you'll find out that it was
In December.
Whenever it was. Terese talked about a problem with her iPhone alarm clock, and you said you had an update for us.
Yeah, you know what I did? It's really high tech. How I fixed the problem? I plugged it in.
Oh.
I plugged it in. You guys were talking about the battery draining the alarm on the clock. Yeah. There were 2 nights where I was too lazy to actually plug it in and charge it before I went to bed. And that's what I was doing. The phone was charged, and then the alarm would just drain the battery down, and there wouldn't be enough power to set the alarm off.
Wow.
Well.
So I plugged it in, and poof! It works now.
Now, as a tip or as a follow-up to that, I have my iPhone in a juice pack.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying is if you were traveling and you
Mhm.
weren't where you could plug it into a wall,
Mm-hmm.
the battery is going to drain down, which is what we've experienced.
Yes.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
But if I put my juice pack on,
Mm-hmm.
would that give me enough, Estin, do you think, overnight to carry it through?
I would think it would,
I
because it
can't-
uses double. When you use that juice pack, it has about double of the battery, I would say.
I can answer that question for you.
You can.
Because I got a juice pack for Christmas.
Ah.
Yes, and this would be the reason why my next iPhone is going to be a 4S instead of a 5. Because
It fits the juice
it
pack.
fits the juice pack. But when I just moved, I just changed residences and I couldn't find my charger for the phone to plug it in before I went to bed. But my juice pack was charged, and I flipped the juice pack on and charged it, and that gave me enough extra juice for the alarm to go off. So that answers
So
your
that does
question.
work?
Yes, it
Yes.
does work.
Okay.
Mhm.
We're just full of tips.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Wow.
Mhm.
That is good.
Mhm.
Estin, I think you had a couple of things that you wanted to talk about. I know I had a viewer question. Actually, he is a person that has followed our podcast.
Mhm.
And the question was, with the iPhone, what are the most easily accessible audio instructional materials that you can use to learn how to use the iPhone?
I think that is an excellent question, and I think there are many different answers to it. One of my favorite resources for learning different things about the iPhone from an accessibility standpoint is iBlink Radio. It's an application from Serotech. It's a free application for both iOS and Android, and so you can get that for both devices, and then you have access to a whole slew of technology podcasts that you can get a hold of. And most of those podcasts are on iTunes, and so you can use the podcasts app on iTunes to get to them, but the Serotech application just makes it a little bit easier to find them.
I struggled the other day because one of the things that I think most people don't do is ever read the user manual, and a lot of user manuals are available online now.
Mm-hmm.
But I remembered that I've seen the iPhone user manual on the phone, and I went searching around for it because I couldn't remember where I'd seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Do you remember, Terese?
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Mhm.
Oh, good. You can check me then, because I remember as well. And I'll go first, and then if I'm wrong, then you can correct me. That'd be great. So what I found it in was in Safari under bookmarks,
Mhm.
and that's where you go and you find it. Now there's no real rhyme or reason as to why I don't think there's a rhyme or reason to why they put it there, but it lives there, and you can get to it pretty much any time. It's just right in the bookmarks.
Isn't it there because you're going to an online resource?
Well, yes, I suppose, but it wouldn't be the first place I would look for a manual.
Oh.
It wasn't
Or
even
the
the last
second-
place I looked.
Oh.
Or the second place, or the third place, or
Uh-huh.
anywhere near my mind to think about that, actually.
I had a refresher course in my settings menus,
Mhm.
because I was looking all over the place for it, and it was frustrating because I knew I had read it, but I couldn't find it again. And I know I'm the only person in the world that's ever happened to.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm trying to find it. The only reason that I know and it makes sense to me that it's there is just because I've found a lot of user manuals online for several devices.
Mm-hmm. That
Just
makes
in
sense.
just in my training experience over the years.
And that's where they tend to live?
That's where they live. It's just the distributors, manufacturers, programmers, what have you, tend to make their products. It's easier to give you a link on a page in whatever product you get to say go online and look here. rather than to actually spend the money to print it out on paper and.
Okay, so this is an advanced user tip,
Mhm.
I would say. And this kind of is one of those things that you can do if you really want to, but so what you could do is go to the bookmarklet, or go to the bookmark that says the manual for the iPhone. And if you reference that manual a lot, you can go under Utilities, and then you can go into Make this as an icon on my home screen. If you double tap that, it will ask you for a name, and you can just type in manual or user guide.
You better say what for.
Correct. So you would probably wish to say what for.
There's a good tip.
And then you just say okay, and then it's saved on one of your home screens. It'll save it in the next icon spot in your home screen, and you can access it anytime you want from that exact spot. So that's kind of more of an advanced tip.
So if it's the latest spot on where your icons live, it might be on page 11.
That is
of
true.
Your icon sheets, which is how many pages I've got, but.
You have 11 pages. I have 2.
Yeah, because it makes more sense for me to just put them in rows of categories instead of having folders and subfolders.
Okay. Well, Sanford, I think I don't know about what you're thinking, but I think we've covered a lot in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
And I think that we'll cover a lot in the next episode.
I think so too.
So why don't you stay tuned for our next episode and see what we cover in that.
Sounds like fun.
So
I'll be there.
I think I will be too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Estin.
I'm Terese.
I'm Sanford.
Bye.